From the moment we arrived, first out, first day of school actually, you could tell this place was different.
So, the first thing you need to know is that this is Socratic Seminar. The lines represent tables, the X's represent chairs. I want you guys to set up in Socratic Seminar, please. We tell the kids, listen, you have a choice. I can micromanage you through this thing, or you can do it on your own. So then I think what we do is we try to help them figure out ways how they can do it on their own rather than micromanaging every little tiny step. Some kids can do it, some kids can't. Ready? In a seminar, we just take turns. And I know that probably in your previous 8 years of school, you've been trained to raise your hands. Not in seminar. You need to talk to each other and get used to that instead of always looking at me. So what I'd like you to do, if you would pick out one of these boxes, you can give your opinion on it, you can say anything you want, just bring in any experience. And anybody can respond at any time. Okay? So, let's start with Samantha.
I like C3.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
So is that nice?
What's that?
Well, I like it a lot because I've never thought about it that way, and it's really true.
Okay. Lena?
Sometimes, like, as she said, like, you have to only read textbooks and the teacher just talks and talks with, like, no emotion in their voice. Projects that aren't just not, like, reading and taking notes all day, filling out just boring assignments every day.
Define boring.
Like, it's hard to explain.
Anybody help her? Define boring. Okay. Try to imagine that we're going to get to a point where I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be sitting over there. It's a beautiful thing. Have a 30, 45-minute conversation with no adult. It's wonderful.
For freshmen, especially the ones who attended a traditional school previously, the first day at this school can be disorienting. HyTechHigh is a school in San Diego. 50% of the kids who attend HyTechHigh are considered low income. To attend, kids enter a lottery and are selected according to zip code. As a result, their demographic makeup duplicates that of other schools in their area. It's a public school, so they get public funds from the state in order to operate, but they actually get slightly less money per pupil and slightly less per teacher to do so. There are a number of things that make HyTechHigh unique. For instance, there are no bells here. The day is not divided up in class periods. Classes are not divided up into subjects. Instead, subjects are combined. Also, they hire teachers on one-year contracts, and in exchange, teachers are free to teach any way they want. Let me repeat that. What teachers teach, how much they teach, is entirely up to them.
So I'm not beholden to state standards, or, it's like we're not always talking about the mandated state tests.
So Scott and I, we started thinking about putting together a project for you guys for this semester. And we had a few different things we wanted to make and work on and cover. So we're going to start with a basic concept. Throughout history, different civilizations have come to be and then just as quickly gone away. And so we're going to start with, you guys are going to be working with Mike, going over a lot of different ancient civilizations. Rome, Greece, Maya, Easter Island, and a bunch I probably don't even know about. And from that, you're going to distill some theory, something you find that explains why civilizations in general rise, and also why they in general fall. So the next piece is we're going to take that very abstract concept and we're going to create a physical manifestation of it. You're going to find a way with gears and linkages that you can represent your social theory. And hopefully, if Mike and I can figure our stuff out, it's going to come together as a big exhibitable piece.
We share a group of about 60 students. They're split into 2 classes, and we spend 2 hours a day approximately with each class. And so my class, they created these individual theories first, and then group theories as to what trends they see, what commonalities they see in these different civilizations and how they rise and fall.
So we all have theories. I know that every theory is different. But all of the theories do something like this, right?
It's a difficult process to get civilization back running, which is why I think it takes a lot longer than you think for ice cycles to actually go all the way through. So.
Once the rebels overthrow the government, it kind of becomes like a never-ending cycle where they don't really become a strong government because they have disagreeable motives, so they're like controversial.
Yeah.
Was there like an exploration component to ours at all, or was it
Not necessarily. It starts off with overpopulation, which is sort of like the peak of the civilization, and then goes down from there.
The whole time that was going on, in my class, I'd identified a bunch of skills they were going to need. We were using a new piece of equipment, a laser cutter. They were going to need to use the software to be able to use that. They were going to have to learn about what are gears, how do they work together, what is torque, what is angular velocity. And then we said, okay, here is your theory. Here are a bunch of tools you now have. How can you mechanically represent your theory in this way?
No, because the ones that you just have to take the nose through easily, yesterday for some reason they were like, no, I took off an entire layer of carbon. On the positive side, it's still not gonna work. But we're missing that piece, right? And this thing is like, I know, we need to cut off the thing, and then it'll work. No. Oh, it's because these pegs are too big.
Well, we can send it down.
Oh yeah, this is everything I've done so far. It's all these pieces like prototypes, first drafts, revisions, and this is basically our system. We're gonna have 3 layers, and I'm making the 3rd layer right now. It's like, it's so hard to think about, but I don't feel behind anymore because only 2 groups are done.
do you think you'll get done then?
Yeah, if I stay late every day.
So instead of a written cumulative exam or final exam, we do things a little bit differently. All of our projects are planned around a public exhibition.
From its inception in 2000, HyTechHigh has had a night every term in which the public is invited to view student work. So, how good a job a teacher's doing or how well a student is learning isn't judged by a multiple-choice standardized test. Instead, students, teachers, even administrators are all judged by this one night.
If you build a house, it's a project. If you make a school, it's a project. If you make a documentary film, it's a project. If you write a book, it's a project. Most of what people do in life involves observation, reflection, documentation, exhibition, and going through these different phases of being able to create something. Learning is, again, kind of turning over the classroom, not being teacher-centered, but being student-centered. And so the room will have this chaotic feel where I think some people who are used to traditional environments of, a child sitting at a desk filling out a worksheet, it terrifies them because there's lots of movement and lots of noise and lots of activity.
U.S. history. This class covers over 520 years, and it's a 32-week sprint from Columbus to the present day. To get through the curriculum, a student can only spend 3 class periods covering, say, the Civil War or World War II, and less than a class period on the Constitution. AP teachers often don't even take questions from students during class because there simply isn't time. Not if you want any hope of getting through the curriculum before the semester ends.
We're a nation obsessed with numbers. People in the political chain that have any responsibility for education want nothing more than to say we improved standardized test performance by 7% in the past year. Isn't everything working? But when you look at how that ripples down to the classroom, if your focus, if your measure of success is slight improvements on standardized tests on vocabulary and esoteric math, you are going to say, why are we teaching art? Why are we teaching scientific inquiry? Why are we encouraging kids to ask questions? Why are we dealing with inquisitive, curious kids in our class? Let's drill. Let's get that result that we can then put in the paper and say we're succeeding in education.
I'm really interested in how it works. I'm interested in how it's made. I'm interested in everything that has to do with it. And I really don't want to let people down. And I really just want to work on it, finish it, be proud of it.
The current systems of education fails to recognize that all students are people, that they have feelings, they have motivations, they have aspirations, they have lives and biographies and circumstances. And as soon as you miss that point, as soon as you start talking about students as data points, you're in big trouble. And the trouble's evident. We've got hundreds of thousands of people going to college every year.
That have not been invented yet. They will be called on to solve problems in a world so complex we can't even imagine it. How do you design a school system that prepares kids for that? While there's no long-term study to prove that this type of learning will provide better results than our current schools, there are some statistics that are interesting. For instance, in spite of the fact that teachers don't waste 1 minute teaching to the state tests, HyTechHigh, curiously, still performs above the state average. A more surprising statistic? Look at how many kids they get into college. But that's just college, and as we've discussed, that's not a guarantee of anything. To really know whether a school like HyTechHigh works, we'll have to wait another 10 to 15 years.